Okay.
Okay, so mine was creating CSS transitions and animations in CSS and triggering them with JavaScript. But since you
Oh,
were doing like the
super
transition
similar.
animations already, I just focused on the JavaScript side of things.
Perfect.
Just because I mean, you've already seen the CSS page or the W3 Schools page that talks about that. They pretty much cover everything. So I just tried to do the JavaScript portion. And what I did is I made a little demo. It's like a little game. And if you press enter, it'll make one move, and spacebar will make the other move, so you can like race the other person, you know.
Oh,
And
cool.
then if you get to the end, it'll come up with a little pop up saying like who won. So the code for that, you have to start with the CSS, and you have to make a container that holds whatever you're going to animate. And so I had two separate containers for player one, player two,
Mm-hmm.
and so the the actual properties don't matter. The only property that matters is the position. The container has to be relative, and the animation has to be absolute. You might have read that already with your CSS stuff. I think it's similar to that. So then for the HTML portion, you have to create the div spot that you're going to have the animations go in. And then to get I use on key press to trigger the JavaScript, and I use this input box. There's a way where like you don't have to, because you have to click on the input box for it to work, just because that's how I programmed it. There's a way where like you don't have to do that. They can just be on the web page and press buttons, but I didn't take the time to figure out how to do that. I think it's a little more complicated. Um, so yeah, there's a better way to do that, but and then in the actual JavaScript, um, I basically just say whenever on key press, it calls this move function. And event, that's just the key that's being pressed. It'll just take whatever key was pressed. It just knows by the context that's what you want, is to know what key was pressed. So I'm taking what key is pressed that's being stored in this e variable. So then I'm just saying if e dot key code equals 32, that's for spacebar.
Okay.
Um, then take element one, which I know what element one is by that div that I made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then take element one, style left, and then change the position over one. And then I'm storing. You have to keep track of its position. So I made like kind of like a global variable for this web page as position one. It starts out at 0, and then this px, that's 1 pixel. So you're taking position one and you're adding 1 pixel to it. I tried to do like a custom amount, like move like 10 pixels,
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't figure out. Oh, you know what? It's probably that actually.
Probably, if
I
that's
just
one
did.
pixel.
I just did 10. Like I didn't do px. I just put the number 10, and
Oh,
that did
yeah.
not.
I bet it'll jump. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it is.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, you can choose how many pixels you want it to move. And then I add one to the position, and then I just say if position one equals 400, because that's how long my. I guess I made it 600. Um, but yeah, if it reaches them, that just does the alert, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so your key code is for the spacebar and for the enter key, and then what might be my animation one? Okay, so which one did you say was relative and which one was absolute?
The container is relative, and the animation is absolute.
I can't even honestly right now like remember what relative versus absolute means.
Um, it it just means that Honestly, I'm not really sure either because you'd think that they'd be switched. You'd think the container would be absolute because it's never moving, and the
Uh-huh.
animation would be relative to the container.
That's what I was thinking,
But
but
it's opposite. I honestly have no idea why.
um, that's for math. Let's CSS. An element with position absolute is positioned relative to the nearest position ancestor. Uh, that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Um, away from small position. I don't know. I'd have to actually try to read into this more. Because you
Yeah.
think you could use a fixed position for the container or something. Oh, well, I guess fixed means it stays in the same place even if the page is scrolled.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Weird. Okay. So then, okay, wait, can you go back to um, can you go back to the top of your, yeah. So you tell it the position, the color, the size, and everything. Okay, wait. So then you are saying on key press, return, move. How come you have to say return and can't just call your function?
Uh,
I've just never seen that, I guess.
I don't know. Let's see what happens. Well, it worked. I don't know why that one went so fast. That's a good question. Just example, I saw how to return, but yeah, I guess you don't need to put return in there.
Okay.
I'm sure there's probably a situation where uh, you would need to do return. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Yeah, I just hadn't seen that before. Um, and then okay, I think the only thing that I still just don't get is the move and then your event parameter that you have there. Where is that coming from again?
So it knows when you call on key press, since you're calling it in the input, it knows that event is just whatever the key is. It just knows based on the context.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't necessarily work that way if you weren't doing it as an input box, or it would.
Right. If it was just a button, it wouldn't. Well, if it was just a button, you wouldn't be passing anything, anyways. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't think of an example of another input type where you would need to pass what it is, except if it was a key press, you just need to know what key it is.
Yeah.
I think that's the only situation, anyways.
Oh, okay. Cool. That totally makes sense. That's cool. I like your example.
Thanks. I'll upload it to our OneDrive.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to put mine in there. And then I have the links to some of the other ones, other presentations to put into. Are you all caught up with the other weeks? Or have you not made documentation on them yet?
Am I all caught up with other weeks? Oh, like doing it with my webpage?
Yeah.
No, not even close.
Yeah, me neither. So I have all of the links to Addison's, and I think Eric's are probably somewhere back in the Hangouts, so I can look for those and add them to our drive. Hopefully they didn't like delete them or anything since they're not in the class anymore.
Yeah.
Because that would suck. Because that's kind of what I've been doing. I've just kind of like looked at the examples that each person's been giving and then included those in on my webpage. That seemed to make the most sense because that's like what we learned together as a group. But I don't know. I don't know if that's what he's looking for or not. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording if that's okay.
Yeah.